guys. Well, everybody, welcome to the National Bridal Market Retailer Resources Roundup. This is our first webinar of hopefully many. We're really excited to have found a new way to connect with you guys. Something that I'm super excited about is all of the places we have represented on this call right now. So I did a little digging through our list of signups, and we have 35 states represented on this call. 7 countries, including Australia, Costa Rica. We are excited. 2 places I would love to go when this is over. And I'm just super excited that we're able to bring everybody together at the Merchandise Mart. That is one of the things that we are continually focused on, having a space for the bridal industry to meet and greet and talk and learn and obviously buy. We are just super excited to have found a way to connect with you online today, and this panel is just a new way to do that in 2020, the weirdest year ever. Okay, so our Retailer Resources Roundup panel is put together today to help all of you stores figure out how you can make this time productive, how you can invest in yourself in a new way. Obviously, our businesses are all changing from, I'm used to hosting panels like this on the 7th floor of the Merchandise Mart. Today, I'm in my living room in Chicago, and things are different now, and that's great. We're going to learn how to adjust. We're going to talk about different ways that can be done. We have the experts on this panel who are very invested in bridal, very smart, and very excited to share with you. So I have some great questions lined up so that we can get everybody started, but just wanted to begin by saying I'm really excited that you all joined, and I'm really looking forward to help you define the new normal. Okay, so we're going to do about a 45-minute panel. We have questions that are lined out. I'm going to go through those. Everybody was also invited to submit questions with their registration, so we'll hopefully be able to get to a few of those as well, and definitely feel free to leave feedback and comments, because we want to keep refining these to make sure that they're working for you, helping you, and we're being a good resource for your store at this time. Okay, well, intro questions. We have to start at the beginning. I want to give each of the panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves, just share something to set the stage for today's chat. Should I start? Should I tell you guys who I am? I don't really know. I forgot about that part. I'm Sarah. I work for the Mart. I closed my screen. Sorry. There we go. This is better. I work for the Merchandise Mart. I've been on the bridal team for 4 years. Started in digital marketing and did not know exactly what bridal would look like for me, but it has become a very big part of my life. I love the industry. I've come to a lot of your stores on the road. I've met a bunch of you at market. You'll usually see me with the camera taking pictures or doing something like that. So it's really great to be on the apparel team with Mart and be able to work with all of you in bridal. Peter, do you want to go next?
Sure. Thank you. So my name is Peter Sinceri. I work for SYVO. We're a tech company specialized in the bridal space. We work with about 300 bridal shops. And can you all hear me? I think my internet's going in and out.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, good. All right, great. Yeah, SYVO, tech company, bridal space, 300 bridal shops. We help stores with their websites, social media marketing, SEO, everything in between.
Is that my turn?
Sure.
If it's not, sorry if I just cut in line, but thanks Sarah and the Mart and fellow panelists for having me. I come from Podium. We are also a software company. Our solution basically is involved in every touch point that your brides or people with special occasions will have on their journey. So all messaging and making sure your reputation is the best it can be on Google, and basically helping you owners to have the processes in place that can help not only make you save time and do your best as a business owner with your goals, but also elevate that experience for your customers in every one of those touch points. So I'm super excited to talk to you guys in the bridal industry, and been a bride myself. I have 5 kids and I'm married, and I also used to do hair and makeup for brides having their mountain destination weddings here in Utah in Park City. And so I love the bridal industry, and I'm excited to kind of share some tips and tricks from the podium perspective today.
Awesome.
Tim,
I'll jump
Ingrid,
in next. I'll jump in. I'm Tim with Bridal Live. Thanks everybody for joining today. I've been with the company for between 5 and 6 years, and Bridal Live is a retail management system directly designed to make running shops easier. So love to get the chance to connect with our stores and maybe shops out there not using a system, but doing what we can to help make everybody have some peace of mind through these tough times and come out of it stronger. So thanks for the opportunity.
Of course.
I'm Ingrid Heilke, and I'm co-founder of Bridal Vision, and we help bridal stores find clarity in numbers and chart the path towards an impactful, thriving business. And we do that in 3 ways: through financial advisory services, through accounting, and also through business intelligence software that integrates with Bridal Live as the leading point of sale system. So we pull data from Bridal Live and then provide it in a intuitive way to help stores make decisions that the decisions that are in front of them to move towards profit growth, better inventory management.
Awesome. Great. Well, we're super excited to have all of you guys. We're really looking forward to getting into this panel. So I'm going to start with the first question. Right now, we are very much living in a virtual world. As I mentioned, we are doing things online differently. Different stores all over the country are embracing different ways to connect with their brides right now. Side note that I forgot to mention that maybe will end up coming up is I'm also a bride right now. So I have a new wedding date scheduled, and I'm looking forward to adjusting as well. I wanted to share that because I'm excited and I'm allowed to be excited. Okay,
Congrats.
So digital world, how can we embrace this new virtual world? Is it something that we are learning? Of course, but I think that there's a lot that we can take away from this time, and I'm excited to hear from our expert panelists on what that will kind of end up looking like. Okay, Ingrid, do you want to maybe take this one?
Yeah, so I'm just going to start out with the kind of bigger view right here, and I think that other people have more detail to add to this, but I talked to a lot of people in the advisory context, and a lot of the sentiment right now is that people are kind of flailing around in panic mode. And we know that from a business perspective, that is really not the best way to make decisions that are going to help you down the road, that can help you build a profitable business. So it's really good to stop and take a deep breath and assess the situation. And for some stores, it makes sense to go with virtual appointments or whatever it is that you're going to do or build infrastructure to serve people in a digital way, even if it's not virtual appointments. There's a lot of options out there, but there's also a really big echo chamber. There's a lot of kind of like looking at what the Joneses are doing. There's a lot of noise. And so it's really important to step back and say, you know, what is my brand about? What are the core strengths of my business? And this is really, the answer is different for every business. And what am I doing in this time? What am I building in this time in order to strengthen the business so that I'm coming out the other side more profitable, strong, able to make sales, bring in revenue, convert sales, you know, everything that you want to do on the other side 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. And even if you're building that in digital infrastructure right now, what does that mean in 3 to 6 months? And even if you're not doing the same thing with that digital infrastructure in a year or 2 years, can you then go and adapt it in a year or 2 years so that it can continue to serve you? Because if you're putting a lot of energy into something right now just because you're reacting to everything that's going on and panicking, that is not necessarily the best use of your resources. So this decision is really different for every store in terms of where you're going to focus your energy.
Yeah, totally.
I'd love to chime in if I could, Sarah.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's interesting to hear that question, like what can we as business owners in the bridal industry do right now to kind of react to the COVID-19 situation, or, you know, kind of just surviving this weird new normal that's temporary. We know this will also pass eventually, and it might be a whole new normal when we do go back to fully open functioning stores and whatnot. But the reality is most of the you know, new things you might attempt to add to your business to maybe virtualize the experience, like we talked about, you know, oftentimes like making sure that you are easy to get in touch with in your customers standpoint, like making sure that your website has clear, you know, kind of this is the state of our store right now, and kind of providing that confidence to brides that are, you know, shopping right now, and kind of having that know-how of what they need to do to be able to get in touch with you, or, you know, how can I try on dresses right now, and those kinds of questions that will come up. But I will suggest, and I'll really quickly share my screen if I could, because I have a really good slide to kind of demonstrate this, but let me find that here. Present. Okay. The reality is that most of you have probably already been, in a sense, thinking of these things that you want to maybe implement now because of COVID-19. It becomes something really important to you. But we've found in research that the customer experience will overtake price and product as a key brand differentiator by the year 2020. And so it's kind of interesting that, you know, the year 2020, it also coincides with having COVID-19. So maybe having this experience will actually give us that, you know, courage and, you know, that sense of pushing forward and taking those steps to make sure that that customer experience is what it should be. And we found that 2 out of 3 of consumers really prefer to text your business. And so I guess in a short, to make a long story short, you know, making sure that your business is textable so that you can, you know, be able to be in touch with your customers the way they want to reach out to you.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing I'll add on to that, I mean, I completely agree with Ingrid that you know, some of these things aren't for everybody. So if something doesn't feel right for your store, if virtual appointments or sending out a dress is not something that makes sense for your store, then you don't have to do it. So I couldn't agree more with that standpoint. And same with Stephanie. I mean, texting, I think you should definitely be texting your customers because it's a much easier way for them to communicate. The only thing I'll mention as far as the website, I think you should just, if you are doing virtual appointments or anything like that, just make sure you have prominent calls to action on your website. I mean, this is how you get things done with your website, by having a clear, you know, action for the customer to do, like, you know, book virtual appointment now. Just simple piece of advice, but it'll definitely take you a lot farther.
Yeah, and just to add on to what I said, that, you know, part of this deliberate decision making is that when you decide what is right for your business, you can go down that path and go all in with it. So if you decide to do virtual appointments or whatever it is, or add more, whatever it is that you decide is right for you, and in whichever way, because there's multiple ways. We all know that there's multiple ways to do this, and it really depends on the store. Then you can go full bore into it because you know you're going to be doing it 2 years down the line. So it's not, you know, just to clarify what I was saying, it's not that to say you shouldn't do this you should or you shouldn't do this. It's that the answer is different for every store. But when you know that when you follow a path and that you can come out of it over the long term and that you're building those long-term assets, you can follow that path more securely. You can build that infrastructure. You can build in the communication, the texting infrastructure, the the infrastructure into your full digital presence in the way that really aligns with the direction that you're going strategically.
I think too, to add to that, make a roadmap of things that you would like to put into place, starting small, building up to, bigger objectives, and see what you're comfortable with, and make sure that you're really focusing on the experience and it's really adding value. So it is something that you're able to kind of measure the sustainable growth of those practices and make sure that it is something that does have value in the long run. So you're not just spinning your wheels and essentially doing a Band-Aid approach, which you can build up. So
Right.
to consider.
I totally agree with that. I mean, I think that thinking about life in general in terms of what this looks like afterwards, like this will pass. None of us know when, but it will. And I think that, by taking the time to implement things for your business that might serve you beyond this, or at the very least, you learn something from, and you learn something about your business, and you learn something about your brand that you can communicate with future brides or future prom goers, accessory buyers, mothers, this whole group of people that we get to serve. I think that you learning something about your business anyway is only going to serve better in the long time. And what better time right now to take advantage of trying something out, doing something you haven't done before, or, embracing something that you've always wanted to do. Awesome. Okay. All right. Next question. Okay. So I kind of led up to this, so I'm going to skip around a little bit. What aspects of the business do you think that our stores can embrace or address now that there is time for it? We have this newfound freedom in our days and weekends where they really don't look that different because we're always inside. So do you guys, any of you panelists, have any thoughts on that, or what your approach might be?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one first. So everybody has a long to-do list and great intentions, and some of the to-dos are put on the back burner when things are cranking away like normal and just very, very busy. So it could be something as simple as a fresh coat of paint in the shop. So when the floodgates open and customers are welcome back in, it's just freshened up and feeling good and somewhere where the employees are excited to go back to. It could also be something, what we're hearing a lot here at Bridal Live is, I'm finally finding the time to join a system and reorganize my business and just get prepped for the floodgates of demand to reopen and be able to really capitalize on the opportunity there. I know a lot of shops are looking at tools to redesign and refresh their website and the functionality there, and increase their social media impact and insights into how to best communicate with their customers, and of course dig in with folks like Ingrid to really feel the pulse of their business and see what data they need to know to carry on and get peace of mind as to the decisions they're making now. So I think it's just something, as we were talking about a bit earlier, make a small roadmap, see what the value is of each thing that you could consider implementing, and then go forth and conquer. Do some research. Information is power. And I think the changes now will really better position shops to have a successful reopening when that time comes.
Yeah, so one of there's things that have happened recently that have really put a spotlight on this, which is one of the things is the PPP funding. So there's a lot of stores right now that have to bring staff back that are not on the sales floor. And so one of the things that we've been talking about is, how do you have people doing productive work? Some of the conversations that I've been a part of or seen is people saying, well, I have to pay people, but I don't have any work for them to do. So one of the things that I say is like, okay, you're bringing either like there are things that you can do that aren't sitting around at home doing Netflix, or if you're bringing people back, bring back the people that can be doing productive work in your business so that when you're coming out of this, you are strong. I mean, I know I already said this, but so just to put a frame around this, what are the things that, you know, thinking back when you were trying to build your business, the things that Stephanie or Peter, Tim were saying, all the things that you can do to build your business to move forward. What are those things that when you were saying to yourself, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for this, you know, my managers are doing other things. What is that list? And then prioritize that list based on what are the things coming out of this that are going to really contribute to the profitability of your business, that are going to contribute to, you know, what you're doing right now in terms of your objectives to whether it's re-engaging with your customers, responding to the changing consumer behavior coming out of this, responding to inventory management and whatnot. Like Tim said, one of the activities that people are engaging in right now, you know, my clients or people that are coming to me right now, is getting financial data cleaned up. Because that's one of the things that we're really focused on, because the financial data can make a big impact in terms of your ability to have clarity on your business decisions. So, you know, a couple things that people are able to do is just getting up to date in all of your accounting. That's one thing. But I wanted to also talk about what you could potentially be doing in Bridal Live, for example, because number one, just getting in and doing, you know, training and making sure that you're doing everything right. You know, Bridal Live is a very powerful tool. When we come in and do the accounting, it starts to become clear some of the things that people, ways that people may not be utilizing that to its full capacity. And so then we're able to start identifying that, you know, making sure that your staff is fully trained. But I just wanted to pull out one of the key things that we see that makes a really big impact, and this is related to when you go to market, and when you go to market in the fall, fingers crossed, and you start making those buying decisions. So just to pull out one piece of data that you could work on, and this is actually, we've made this a very small task at Bridal Vision, which is your receiving dates, which is related to your turn rates. So basically just understanding how long your inventory and how long you've had your inventory, so that you can make good decisions around buying and also selling your inventory off the rack or sample sales, is because what we're looking at is seeing probably an increased demand for that existing stock. And then when you go to market, if you have those financial reserves, then you can come in and start replacing that stock. And so having that financial data on hand is going to be very important when you open back up. And I just want to share my screen to show you how easy this is, just to get in and do this. Which screen am I sharing? Is it Google Doc?
Yes, the question.
Okay, I'm sharing the wrong screen. So let me just show. So this is super easy. This is free if you get into Bridal Vision. But if you don't have your receiving dates in Bridal Live, either because you migrated over or because you just weren't entering purchase orders or receiving vouchers, you can go in there, you can see your inventory, and you can just start entering your receiving dates in here. It's actually really simple, and you can use the time now to get it out of the way. So that's just one example of the kind of thing you can just go up and clean up in your business, a small thing that can make a really big impact if you go in and do this. And we've made it really simple for you to do. So that's my spiel.
I love it.
To jump in quickly on that one too, mentioning, Ingrid mentioned that, you know, a lot of shops using Bridal Live or even similar systems. Maybe you're just scratching the surface. And when we do get the privilege of going to markets like Chicago, we hear a lot, gosh, wish I was using this feature more, that feature more. And when you can automate more and more business practices, which make your day easier and allow you to refocus that energy in more valuable areas, it pays dividends in the long run tenfold. So be sure to really dig in, and the tools you're already using, use them to the best of your abilities and enable your staff to use them really well. And then consider what else you can do to make it easier to run your shop so you can just reap the rewards of that success, or reinvest that time outside of the store when you're able to go out and about and have some fun.
Totally.
I'd like to pipe in if I could. That's a really powerful software. I love how you can, plan your, Q3 and Q4 and be able to customize that for your store. I think that's really powerful. I love to always, consult with business owners to really always have at the forefront of all of their decisions and planning, what is the customer's journey throughout the whole process. That begins in, that kind of discovery phase for a bride where they're, if you're a bride like I was, I had my little, I had my folder of ripped out pages of a magazine of favorite rings and dresses. I was one of those girls that even before I had a boyfriend, I knew my wedding, whole scheme and everything. But yeah, that could be a process that happens for a long time. And, when that potential bride or buyer that, wants to choose your business gets to the point of consideration of, where do I go to? Where's my go-to shop locally? A lot of that business happens so local. And I think that I speak for all of us that Google is such an important place to make sure our presence is, an accurate representation of our stores and, kind of what inventory we carry, with, tools like Bridal Live and such, that you can be able to access that on the website and do your shopping. Majority of that is going to be done hours and hours online before they step foot in your stores. So one exciting tool that we've helped a lot of owners as they, start using the Podium review request tool, which is just a simple text that you can send out to your past customers. That's one way to kind of flood that review presence right out the gates. And so, you become one of the top 3 choices when someone says bridal boutique near me, or, a certain designer and enters bridal shop locally, so that you pop up and you're the obvious choice, right? So that's one thing is maybe owning your online reputation and kind of, making sure that it's accurate representation of what you offer. We can even consult with you how to customize your Google My Business listing so that I could say, still open during COVID-19 and having a textable button right there on a mobile search. And a natural result of having that obvious spot on a Google search is driving more website traffic to your website. And I've loved what I've seen a lot of bridal businesses doing is, maybe right on their front page. I'm on a website right now and it just says, forefront right here is we remain committed to protecting the health and safety, during COVID-19. And it kind of is really obvious and apparent right in front that we still want to help you as a bride to have your dream wedding and to play a role in that and to offer you that experience. So I think just making sure all of your front forward facing, customer facing pages and places that you can be found is just making sure you prioritize, what that looks like.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just so weird, this whole timing that we're in to know what to say, know how to say it, and really get the word out there to your brides, and especially to all of these stores that are tuned in. Just so everybody knows, we have 103 stores tuned in right now. Each and every one of you stores is experiencing something different and struggling with different parts of your business and, trying to put it all together to make tomorrow, successful, and the day after that, the day after that. And I think when it comes to this next question that I'm going to bring up, the answer is different for every store, right? We all have, I'll just rewind. In my experience working at the Mart and meeting so many stores and seeing so many of you come to Chicago and also going out and meeting you, you are all very much a service to your community. I've always seen stores as being very representative of the communities that they're in, because it's such a fun time to go pick out your wedding dress or go into town and do that. When I went shopping for mine to Austin, my family's there, so it was fun to take a trip down to Texas and do the shopping with my family. But that being said, stores in Austin right now are saying very different things than, stores in Illinois, stores in Maryland, stores all in California, all over. So just that as a general caveat, we want you to do and say what's right for your community. But I want to ask our panelists what they think is the information that should be shared with stores at this time. How can stores find a way to connect with brides? What are your thoughts on different approaches to doing that, and getting in touch with their with their communities?
Yeah, I can start with that one, I suppose. So, I mean, I think your website today is kind of your new, front window to your store. So I think it's an appropriate place to start with all of this. I think if a lot of our stores have created some sort of COVID page on their site that kind of just lets everybody know what guidelines they're following and keeps everybody up to date. So, I mean, I think the key is just making sure your site is up to date with the information that's going on. I mean, these people, when they're Googling things when they're Googling, they're looking for answers. And so if you can just give them the answers, then the chances that they'll engage with you and take the next step are way higher than if they just see something that doesn't even mention anything that's going on, has no precautions or guidelines or anything. So as far as the site goes, I think just make sure you keep it up to date with imagery about what you're doing or information about what you're doing. And maybe Stephanie, do you have any follow up on that?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Peter. I agree with you 100%. Just being transparent and accessible to your customers is super important. One thing that I thought was, just really powerful to note is, there's a bridal shop owner in Denver over at the Bridal Collection, and she actually took that leap of faith and kind of realized how, especially right now, it's important to have those open channels of communication. So, having your Facebook messaging, Instagram messaging, and your email, and anything that comes in from your website as far as an inbound question. When you open up all of those channels, Podium can funnel all those into one inbox. So it's nice that you don't lose time logging into different websites and trying to make sure you're keeping up with questions. So first and foremost, to kind of answer that is just have the conversations and open up that opportunity for your customers. They want to ask you. They are also dealing with, some stay-at-home circumstances where this isn't what they maybe dreamed and imagined up as their, maybe search for the perfect dress would be. But like I mentioned earlier, our friend in Colorado at the Bridal Collection shared that she turned on just that messaging on her website in April and has had 688 texting in conversations. That has turned into, she's evolved her process to have virtual consults. They do a curb pickup with, sample dresses, let the brides take it to their home. They tie in their social media accounts by saying, with a picture with the dress that they choose with the yes sign that they've customized, and they share that on Podium Messenger. You can share pictures. So once they choose their dress, they send their picture back saying yes. And they've used 305 payment requests, which is just a secure textable link to collect payment. And they've made, in April alone, 200,000 mobile payments have been collected. So I think that's just a really powerful example of, it's very simple, but just be open to communicate with your customers. Preferably, like we said, 2 to 3 of them, 2 out of 3 want to text your business. So I guess it sound like I'm beating a drum, but be textable, be accessible, and make that experience, although it's different, but make it a great experience for your customers.
I think what's really interesting about this season of life, if you call it, is like it's really hard for anybody to plan. Obviously, you're kind of making adjustments, every day. That's one thing that we're all learning is how to be very adjustable. That's in our personal lives, in our family lives, in our business. And as the resident bride, it's like kind of annoying to plan a wedding. It's like you can't really, it's like you can, but you can't. And you don't want to get too excited about anything, but just from to the bridal stores, it's still super exciting, right? So I think that what is so great about this industry and this time and this season of life is that people are still getting engaged. I've seen like 5 different COVID engagements. That's not, love is not canceled. That's not on hold or anything like that. And I think that people are still really always going to be excited about that dress shopping process, and that even though that's changing, or is changing right now, is, we're trying different things out. I think that if you can think about ways to get creative in your community and, create that excitement that comes with coming to your shop, or, meeting you online, seeing different things and looking at dresses maybe in advance is a really cool way to kind of embrace what's going on right now and have more focused interactions with your customers for sure. And when that can move to the in-store experience, take everything that you've learned when it's harder to communicate. Like what I'm learning now about hosting a panel with an audience that I can't see, and panelists that are all over the country. We're all learning and adapting, and I think that something coming out of this is going to be all the learnings that we can apply when we get back to in real life. I don't know, I'm just excited. Okay, let's see what our next question is. All right, I'm going to jump a little bit over because I want to talk about previous customers, people that have been to your shops before, and people that have already bought their dress, people that have already had their wedding, people that have already bought their prom dress. I mean, I know this is kind of a bridal conversation, but we do have a lot of prom stores that attend, and a lot of prom queens that don't get to wear their crown. Is that like so sad to say? They should still have crown. But how can stores right now kind of maintain contact with customers that they've had in the shop before? As what I've heard and what I know to be true is a lot of the recommendations that people get to go to a bridal store comes from the friend who just had her wedding, or just, bought her bridesmaid's dress or whatever. So what are some ways that our stores can engage with customers they've already obtained?
I'm happy to jump in, I suppose.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So, I mean, there's a few ways, that I've seen this that can be successful. I mean, you can start off, first of all, you can follow up with previous appointments. Like sometimes there were some girls that had scheduled an appointment but then ended up coming in. So, I mean, now is, certain, depending on where you are, I think just check in with them if they made an appointment in the last 3 months or so, see how they're doing, just kind of see what, I think that's a good first step. One thing you can do that's just, I would recommend all around, is retargeting campaigns. So these are the types of ads that you might have seen, like if you've ever been to Amazon, you've added something to your cart, then you left, and next thing you know, it's everywhere all over the internet. You can actually run those for your bridal shop, and it works really well because sometimes when they're looking out there, they click on you or they come over to you, but they're not ready at that moment to make an appointment or to contact you. And so if you just run a retargeting campaign, this is a way you can kind of automate this whole keeping in touch with the people that have, spoken with you or engaged with you in any way. Last thing, I think we all have these email blasts or email lists of previous clients. I think they can be pretty valuable because right now people are sitting at home. They will gladly share it with one of their friends that just got engaged, family member. So, I mean, just you could send out a simple email blast that rates might not be as high as text message, but they give you a unique way to kind of, remind your previous customers without, sending them something like a text, just out of nowhere. So as far as our end, I think those are a few places you could start.
If I could jump in on that too, Peter, regarding the emails and just kind of the follow-up process. So with tools like Bridal Live, I know we have the capability of categorizing customers, whether they're leads that maybe are in the process of booking an appointment or haven't been in yet, or they came in and didn't purchase, or maybe they're a bride that bought a dress or a prom customer but no accessories. So having the ability to kind of pinpoint where your customer base is in the buying process, and then leveraging tools like newsletters, mass emails, mass text messages, social media posts to help target those people. And even just let them know, hey, we're still here, we're ready for you when we can be, or what can we do for you in the meantime. And I think that it's great to remember in the messaging that bridal is always a beacon of light, and it's also, I'm sure, a welcome distraction during these crazy times that brides can not think about all the struggles going on across the board, and really just take a minute to look forward to celebrating with their friends and family again. And it's just really cool to see that impact and to be a part of that. So yeah, just think of a way to leverage tools that are out there, organize your customers in a way that you can effectively and efficiently communicate in groups, so it's not overwhelming. And then a lot of times those same tools like MailChimp and Constant Contact and stuff have the ability to measure the results and kind of give you additional insight into how that's working for you.
For sure.
I have one very small thing to add to that, which is that what I've been hearing from stores that have, my internet's unstable, so I hope I'm coming through. So one of the things that I've been hearing from stores that have had the capacity to do the one-on-one follow-up, so if they have the automations in place, if they're able to follow up, so all the things that Tim and Peter were saying, have had very strong responses from those brides, just because of the context. So go with the automations, go with all of that stuff in terms of being able to pinpoint the right people to reach out to and kind of like narrow that down, so that then you can focus your attention on reaching out with the personal connection to the ones that you're most likely to be able to make a sale or conversion down the line, or that can refer people down the line. But that personal connection matters a lot right now. And there's ways to do that virtually through video and phone calls, video, all kinds of things where you can build that out. But that's what I've been hearing by and large from the people that are doing it.
And these practices, Ingrid, what you were mentioning earlier, these can all be carried on in the future. So they don't stop when things start shifting back to normalcy. They will just better position you to market your wonderful offerings to the customers out there that are now ready to come back in the door. So
yeah, one thing that I'll add to that, which we haven't discussed, is that one of the things that people are doing are pre-consultation type of calls, which are obviously increasing conversion rates at this time. Even in other industries, bridal isn't used to this, because bridal is used to like bring the bride in, you have the appointment, boom, 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 or you have multiple appointments. Well, that's a lot of effort that you put behind a sale. It's very expensive, unless you're following I actually have a KPI that I was going to talk about, which is labor efficiency ratio. So if you're following the metrics, then, you can actually understand the cost that you put behind in order to convert people. But in other industries, this can be more of a standard practice where you're doing like a short consultation ahead of time, and it can increase the conversion rate down the line. So some stores are actually starting to do this practice before, say, a virtual appointment, and it can go a long way. And this is when I was talking earlier about like what infrastructure you're putting in place, what practices you're going to put in place right now, and then how do you adapt them later on. Well, if you think about the capacity of a bridal store, it traditionally is limited to the rooms that you have in your store. Well, if you start adding on those kind of pre-calls, and I'm not talking about the pre-screening that people have talked about before, like what's your price point, just so that you can kind of filter people out. But the calls that are building relationships, then that, for one thing, within the COVID context, matters a lot in terms of conversions, but it also matters in terms of if you're going into the context of really having to limit the amount of people in your store and limit, and obviously we're not in the same context of people jumping across multiple stores, then that is really important, an important part of the sales process. And then down the line, what you can do is start building that in order to essentially expand the capacity that you have without having to move to a bigger space, which is more costly, or add in staff into a bigger space. So that's something that you can actually do to increase your profit margins down the line if you're building that in right now.
I think additionally, $1 million question is, what are the brides thinking? What are they doing? What are their plans now moving forward? And taking the time to reach out to them, check in, see what's going on is your chance to see in your area what's on their mind and what can you do to answer the questions that will help them determine what their plans are. The more you can ingrain yourself as an expert, the better off that relationship's going to be moving forward.
Yeah, that's where these conversations are really important, and listening to what they're saying and learning from those calls, because you're actually learning about the process, and it might not look the same now as it does in the future, but you're learning about like what about this new sales process actually works and what am I going to throw away or how am I going to change it down the road. So like automation up front, personal connection, conversion.
Yeah.
And what is the right?
No, you go, Stephanie.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. I just want to point out really quick that, beyond an initial, buying experience for a customer at your store, that definitely will turn into, word of mouth referrals, like has been mentioned. They're going to tell their younger sister getting married a couple years later will probably choose that store if that experience was positive for her older sister, and a neighbor, hearing about how that went. And so it's really powerful. And, I've already touched on like your review presence, but one thing that we can do right now with past customers, which I think was the question, is we found that it's really valuable that as a business owner that you have insight and, can have some feedback as to how that experience has gone, and maybe, from our kind of sentiment dashboard, and be able to test where we can improve our customer's experience. Or maybe it's, they wish that the showroom was a different, setup, or whatever it is. You can text out surveys that are, affect your NPS score. It's a real survey, and you get, real-time responses. And they are, if they're 7 through 10, like a positive response, it will automate that reply to just thanking them for their continued loyalty and looking forward to them continuing to shop with them. If it's, any lower than that 7, then it will, prompt you as an owner to engage with that customer. And maybe it's, a rescue situation where if you can send out those surveys in a timely manner, and then you hear, feedback from a bride that, is considering maybe going down the street to another shop because of a certain factor that wasn't there for them, they can communicate that in that text thread, and you can respond and bring them back and, delight them with like a second shot, right? So, just really capitalizing on having that insight as a business owner and really knowing what that experience is like, and then having all of that sentiment within like, one dashboard to be able to get feedback as an owner is really valuable.
Yeah. One thing that I really like that you touched on, or that has been touched on in this conversation, is finding that right communication style for your store, like that right order of events, like your formula for connecting with your brides, because so many of your stores are unique to a specific type of bride, and she is communicated with in a different way. So I think that breaking that ideal conversation down into parts, seeing what it would consist of for the customers that you've obtained so far and how they would prefer to be spoken to, I think is a really great use of kind of this time, and can tie into the customers that you've had in the past. I mean, one thing that I'm really feeling during this time is, and as the Mart, we're very connected to small businesses. We we want every small business to be successful. We are there to support the many different small businesses that come into our building throughout the year. I mean, bridal, the Mart's huge. Most of you guys have all seen it. And so we're really, fighting for them right now. But we're not alone in that. I think that, people are stepping up for restaurants. People are stepping up for, their local, all of the different type of local businesses. I say restaurants because I just am tired of cooking, so it's top of mind. But I think that connecting with previous customers that you've had before is something you can really do now, and learn about what they liked about that process, why their store experience with you was, one of the best ones they have, why they would recommend you, and get the pictures. I think that, you're selling such beautiful gowns, and these girls are so beautiful the day of. I think that it's a simple question to ask. I think, people want to support small businesses right now, and probably don't need, your previous customers hopefully don't need to go buy another wedding dress. I mean, be there for them if they do, but, get the pictures from that special day and have them in the archive so you can be sharing that with your future customers and letting them know that you're ready to serve them when the time comes. So I told you guys this was going to be over at 11:45. It's 11:55, and we have one question left. So I'm not going to be able to get to the submitted questions that we have. We do have those saved and are hoping to use them at future panels that we're going to be hosting for National Bridal Market. And I'm going to be sharing out a thank you note with all of these lovely panelists, emails, contact info, so you can get in touch with them for anything specific you may have, or us. We're there for you. But last question of the day. What are the opportunities stores have to share and create content right now? I think that's something exciting, important, and something that you can all go and do between now and next Wednesday. So I just want to hear from our lovely panelists. What are your ideas on creative content? I'll submit mine first because I kind of already touched on it. Get the pictures from brides, save them, organize them, and put them up. Just share the love. We need it. So that's my 2 cents. But open it up to the panel.
Yeah, I think the Real Bride imagery does really well on websites, social media. Definitely reach out to them and get that. But as y'all might know, the first thing that these brides usually do is they pin wedding related posts on Pinterest, and then they save the things they really like on Instagram. So during this whole COVID-19, they're in this dream phase where, and it's going on for an extended amount of time. So your customers have a lot of time to create their own dream wedding. So a couple tips for like Pinterest. You want to make sure that all of your products, all your dresses are posted on your website. And the key with Pinterest is to link back from those products from Pinterest. So link the product from Pinterest to your website. That's going to help you a lot when these girls are going through and just pinning this dress, that dress, this dress. They're going to be able to link over to your website. And once they're there, then you can introduce them to a whole nother, side of marketing. And then as far as Instagram, right now, people are spending more time than ever on Instagram. And this is really where your brand, it's the personality and the voice of your brand. So besides your website, of course. But I think it's one of the most important avenues that you have right now, being your Instagram. So as far as some best practices, just remember, you're not selling a dress, you're selling a lifestyle. So you don't want to necessarily push it like a dress on a mannequin and make it all about that. You really want to show them what they would be like in their dream dress. So Real Brides, like we already touched on. I think it's great to push that content, and it's something that your customers can really buy into. And as far as posting frequency, I'd recommend at least 3 to 4 times a day on Instagram. And if you're running out of content, you can actually use content that you posted a while back that did really well. Chances are, your brides kind of move on, so you have new customers who haven't seen the content, and if it did really well a year ago, then just repost it. There's nothing illegal or wrong with doing that. And last thing, if you don't have any content, you don't know what to post, just reach out to your designers. They have lots of imagery, video. A lot of the new fall 2020 collections, spring 2021 collections are coming out. Just get that content. It's a great way. And then the last thing with Instagram, and I promise I'll pass it on, is the stories. I think if you can, you should be really keeping up with stories. There are some tools like there's one called Later and it allows you to schedule out stories. And when these girls are coming on Instagram, it's at the very top of Instagram, the story section. So you can get a lot of views, a lot of engagement just by keeping that up to date. And they want to go and they want to look through and see all everything that's going on in your store. So just post to your stories and schedule it out. It'll make it a lot easier for you. But as far as, just to recap, Pinterest, Instagram, website, these things right now are the voice of your store. And you can get a lot more customers and get your current customers engaged just by being active on there. So if you're not, I would definitely recommend doing so.
Hey, Peter, I love your ideas and thoughts. And I definitely am like an Instagram regular. So I definitely think that, the stories route is definitely critical. As a business owner, there's obviously, the traditional channels that people would, communicate with your business. Historically, it was always like coming into a store face to face, the handshake and the business transaction. And, over time that evolved from like, having a phone call, being able to ask questions on the phone, and then email came about, and all of those are still very valuable channels. But today, having a bridal shop with, this generation of brides, it's definitely critical to be, up on your regular postings on Instagram and Facebook. Like I said, it just helps to save operational time when you can funnel all those messages into one spot to log into one app or thing on your desktop to check everything. And another great thing that kind of ties in what Sarah had said about collecting those pictures and those videos is so authentic, and it kind of really resonates with your customers to have like a real genuine experience that they can kind of like relate to and kind of feel that what that would be like for them. And so it kind of is, marrying all these examples together. Like our bridal shop owner I mentioned earlier in Colorado, she likes to, send a bottle of champagne and, have that virtual consultation where it's like their dream try on in the comfort of their home. And they encourage their clients to, make their own Instagram stories or save those videos. And then, of course, that picture of saying yes to the dress, and then their wedding day pictures. And if you encourage that kind of communication and you build that relationship, like Ingrid touched on, is, kind of nurturing the relationship with these customers. It's not just a business transaction, but you're really, building like a best friend out of these brides. And you can take all of those regular incoming videos and pictures coming through on that text in your web chat, or you become a contact on their phone, and then you can post those on your Instagram stories. And it just really gives that really real, authentic feel to your patient or to your customers to be able to have that experience before maybe they even have the experience, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, I think one thing I'd like to add is just, consider as you're reopening, kind of have flashbacks to when you had your grand opening for your businesses. And if it's been a long time, as it may be for some of you, what would you do to build that level of excitement, to create the awareness of your plans to reopen, manage a little bit of the expectation of how things may be a little bit different right now with the masks and the gloves and the distancing and everything. But again, it's circle it all back to the celebration of life and the dream come true experience that the brides are really waiting for. The experience only a bridal shop can provide. So that's just my thing. Build the excitement, set the expectation, and then get ready to celebrate.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm happy. I think this is great. I think that we had an awesome panel today. I'm really excited to hear the thoughts of all the stores that tuned in. So truly don't hesitate to reach out, email us. We're making these for you when we want them to be something that allows your business to grow and be successful. So reach out. Our email is National Bridal Market at the Mart. You get emails from us already, I think, most of you. So if you don't, sign up, follow us on Instagram, follow these brands on Instagram, follow these people on Instagram. We got to connect, and I think that's as we're learning, it's the way to connect these days. I had a thought about Instagram, but I already forgot it. I'll pin it somewhere if I remember. Okay, any final thoughts, comments, or I'm going to end this thing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
I
We
think
hope
last
to see
thing,
you
a couple of
soon.
questions in the chat about how the recording will be shared. So maybe just
Yes,
share that.
sure. We are sharing it on our website. So you can look for that. We'll also get an email out to let you know where to find that on our website and contact information for all of us. Okay?
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thanks,
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Stay safe out there. Bye.